Good morning, my Teaserking family. I wanted to do just this little section of the Titanic versus Gold. I want to make sure everybody gets it and do a separate little video on it because it's extremely important and extremely clear what the hell is going on. So in my video, it's part of it. It's near the last half hour or so. But I know I do long videos, so I wanted to do this part of class specifically. All right, Howard, what the fuck you talking about? Titanic versus Gold. All right, so we are in the Titanic system, right? So we had the Titanic. This was the initial Titanic. And then it starts getting hit by the iceberg, and then the water starts leaking in. That's what we have now. The banking system's collapsing. Anybody in the paper fiat currency is on the Titanic. And what do people do? They get out of the bank and they go into stocks, or they go to another bank. Well, I'm going to leave Silicon Valley. I'm going to go into JP Morgan. The key point that I'm trying to make is you're still in the Titanic, right? The Titanic's sinking. We've hit the iceberg. It's down just about out. And what do? You jump out of it, but you really don't. You're still in the Titanic. You go from section A to section B, or you go from the dining section to the other section. You're still basically fucked in this. You're still on the Titanic, right? You still have no way out, and your value is, you're losing value. And so what I'm saying is, if the Swiss Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank, they're the Titanic. They're just the European Titanic. It's all the Titanic. All the paper fiat currencies are the Titanic, and they're all hit by the iceberg. And there's nowhere to go. But you go into housing, or you go into a real estate investment trust, or you go into the stock market. You're still on the Titanic. You got to get off the Titanic, but you can't get off the Titanic, right? The only way out of the Titanic is to get on the the professor's gold ship. That's the art of the Titanic, is to get on this gold, the ship that has gold and silver on it. We can't sink. Nothing could happen, and we're gonna make a lot of money, but we can't. Even if we can't hit an iceberg, right? We're not, but that's where you need to get onto that ship. So you need to get off the Titanic. But alas, Janet Yellen says everything's fine. Powell, well, I'm raising interest rates, but that's fine. But we're still on the Titanic. It's still hit. It's still going underwater. Well, don't worry, the FDIC will back everything. Well, I'm still on the Titanic. What are you going to do? Well, we'll have life boats, right? So if you need FDICs, a lifeboat. Well, we're going to send lifeboats. Yeah, but I'm still on the Titanic in the middle of the ocean. I'm not anywhere closer to being safe than being on the Titanic. So I'm on the. How do I get? So you're either on the Titanic or you're on the gold boat. That's your options. I wish I had my gold boat here. Anyway, that's your options. It's gold or Titanic. That's it. Well, how about the Bitcoin boat? Well, we don't know what that is. It's really not a boat. We don't know what it is. We don't think it's even a boat. Maybe it's a life raft. Maybe it's, a dock. I don't know what it is. You really have, I can go into stock, Amazon and Apple. That's still the Titanic, or I can go into boat. So you really have two options. So even if you get your money out of the bank and Janet Yellen sends a little life raft for you, but what she doesn't tell you is, I don't really have enough life rafts. And if I have to print money to give you life rafts, I actually, they're only made for two people. Right? Oh, I'm not telling you, well, I have 1,000. I'll make enough life rafts for everybody in the banking system. But the more I print, the less they're worth. So if I have all these life rafts, but they're only going to be one person life rafts, I can't row. It's just I'm one person. Okay, but I'll send you some life rafts. I'll help you if you lose all your money in the bank, and the water is filling up, and you're going, well, Janet Yellen's going to send a lifeboat. Well, I ran out of lifeboats, or I made so many lifeboats, they're not worth anything. They won't stay afloat. So what she's doing is she's going to have to print all this money, and the more she prints, the less they're worth. And before you know it, the lifeboats are worthless. They're worth nothing, right? So she'll send you one, and it immediately sinks, because if they print all this money to insure you, the money will have no value as it does now. The value of the money is almost out. And if they print a bunch more money, we've already seen that show in the 1920s in Germany. You needed a wheelbarrow because the money was worthless. So if she prints to cover FDIC, the money's worthless. You're still in the Titanic. So that's your way out, is a lifeboat that won't support you, and all the water will come in. That's your lifeboat. Aha, the professor says, but you know what? Get out of the banks, get off the Titanic, and go buy gold and get on the boat made of gold. That can't sink. That can't get hit by an iceberg. You're very safe on the gold boat. You have no risk. It can't go lower, and it should go a lot faster and a lot higher. And what they're not telling you is that but the Titanic's in the middle of the Atlantic and the gold boat's still at the dock. Yeah, because JP Morgan and the COMEX people they won't untie it. It's still docked because they're holding the ropes and not letting the gold boat go out, which is the value of the gold not being more, because JP Morgan is holding the derivatives to keep the phony price from going to the real price. The real price of gold is nowhere near 1970. With the war, with inflation and bank things, the real price of gold is probably $40,000 or $50,000 an ounce right now. I read where people are $1 trillion has left the banking system. And where do you think it's gone? So they're getting off the Titanic. They're either putting it into Amazon or they're putting it into gold. And I think a lot of them are putting it into gold, but you're not seeing the price because it's still tied to the dock. So, young Master Bobby goes, well, how about if the price going to go down on the gold boat? And I go, no, don't worry. The gold boat can't sink. It's going to go they'll untie it. It'll go very fast, and you'll get to where you're going much quicker. So the Titanic is going, and people are staying on the. You know what? Take your money from AB Silicon Valley, put it into Wells Fargo, put it into Bank of America, put it into Chase, put your money in there. Well, it's still on the Titanic. You're not off the Titanic, even though you're in these big banks. You're still there. And then, we'll fix it, and everybody will go into the central bank digital currency. Well, no, that's still the Titanic. It's still going to be in crap dollars backed by nothing. You're still in the Titanic. Your only way off of the Titanic is to go onto the other ship that the professor's calling his gold ship. That ship won't sink. It's going to go up in value. It'll be untied, and it'll go very fast, and it'll be very safe, and you won't have any worries. It won't sink. Even if it hits an iceberg, it can't sink. They can't print the gold on the gold ship like they print the dollars on the Titanic. And that really is the short lesson I'm trying to teach you. You've got to get off the Titanic, but they keep telling you, buy stock, or switch to Merrill Lynch, or now Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse is in trouble, and they're going to Hong Kong and Singapore. That's still the Titanic. And we know who owns those countries is China. So now you're moving your money to Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank to Hong Kong and Singapore, which means you're moving your money to China. Is that really where you want your money? You think it's safe in China? That boat's already gone under. They're already underwater on their boat, and the guy's blowing the whistle looking for survivors. And the idiot's on the door. I mean, that's where you're at. You're on the door, being pulled under, and that's it. And so that's the problem. You're on the Titanic in this. If you're in gold, you're off the Titanic. The object of the game is to get off the Titanic. So let's play a game. Titanic, gold boat. Which one you? Well, the gold boat doesn't go very fast because it's still tied to the dock because J.P. Morgan won't allow it off because of the derivatives. Hello? Well, and everybody's leaving the Titanic and they're swimming to the gold boat. But they get stopped by, you really want to go into the stock market or buy real estate investment trust. I'm still on the Titanic. I would like very much to get off the Titanic. And that's really the key to it. So you're trying to get off the Titanic, and the only option is the gold boat. That's the only option to get off the Titanic. Otherwise, you're going to drown. That's it. I don't know how to make it any simpler, but I just kind of created that and I was doing my other video, and I think I should make this separate. So what you're trying to do is get off the Titanic. It's sinking. It's hit the iceberg. It's going out. You're all going to be underwater, and your only choice is if you can get to the gold boat, it can't sink. There's no risk of it going down. It can only go up, and it's going to go a lot faster once it breaks away from the J.P. Morgan rope holding it at the dock, which I keep saying it's broken. It's going to go. It's a lot faster and higher than it is now. So I think your true price of gold is 40 or 50,000 because they printed all the money and it's in money, right? If gold was not in money, gold would be huge right now, right? But it's in dollars. Why is gold priced in dollars, not the other way around? Okay, it is. That's the reality of what gold is. So you only have one choice, is just saying, thank you, God, I can buy gold very cheaply right now. I just went and bought silver, $27 an ounce for a 5-ouncer, and then I had to buy the $35 American Eagles because he was sold out of all the bullion at $27.50. And he had a few ounces of gold, but now it's $2,100 for the ounce. And so, or I might have bought it for $17, $18. Now it's $21, but I've got a lot, not a true. I don't have a ton. I'm not a country. I'm just a guy, but I have, I have some that will keep me on the gold ship for a while. And really, that's the key to it. So that's what I'm trying to get you on, is the gold ship. And maybe explaining it like this will help you understand it better. But you've got to get off of the Titanic and all this, buy an annuity, buy stocks, change your money from one bank to another. It's all the tight. You have different decks on the Titanic. The top deck's the annuity, then you have the stock deck, then you have the bond deck, then you have the banks. And they're all different levels, but they're all the Titanic, and it's hit the iceberg. So what do? Do you stay on the Titanic after it hit the iceberg, which we know it's going to sink? And Captain Powell's going, well, I'm going to raise rates. That way it won't sink. No, whatever you do, it's sinking. Now you're fucking up all the other layers, right? You're fucking up the level 4 where all the banks are on. You're fucking up level 3 where the real estate investment trusts and the cars are on level 2, and you're fucking up that market, and you fucked up all the markets. So they're all collapsing. What's your choice? Get off the boat and onto the gold boat. The gold boat's not moving. It's about to move, but doesn't pay a dividend. It doesn't matter. You don't need a dividend. You're gonna get on the boat and you won't have to worry about icebergs. That's the difference. That's the key to the gold boat versus the Titanic boat. I don't know how to spell it out any simpler and easier for you to understand. I know it's very confusing, and I know all the people who have sold you the tickets on the Titanic are trying to keep you on the Titanic. Oh, I went to the bank, buy an annuity. What the fuck do I want to be on the Titanic for? I'm buying gold. I don't need the Titanic. Buy a real estate investment trust. Move your money into this bank. I mean, it's all horseshit. It's a bunch of salesmen trying to tell people that don't know what's going on, what's happening. So you got to be very careful. Who do you trust? And you're all trusting the Joker right now, and you shouldn't be. And that's really the problem. You don't know enough because you're not being taught it. That's why this is a class. I'm here to teach it. And that's what you need to understand. The banks are it's all a Ponzi scheme. It's all Madoff. Madoff's on the Titanic and the Enron's on the Titanic. So get off the Titanic. That's what the point is. So when you hear Alistair McLean, who I don't know, but I agree with because we're both Austrians, and you hear us both, and he says, get out of the fiat system, I'm simplifying it. Get off the Titanic. Get onto the gold. And if you can do that, guess what? You won't sink. And that's really what you're trying to do is you're about to go into the freezing Atlantic, and Janet Yellen's I'm gonna send this FDIC insurance that only holds one person, and it's gonna sink into the water. That's what I'm sending you is insurance. I'm gonna send you fiat money that is basically worthless if I have to print another $5 trillion to cover FDIC. If you believe that, this is the problem. This is really what the problem is. So you want to get the hell off the Titanic, get onto the gold ship. I don't know how else I can explain it that's easier. Anyway, www.teaserking.com. Get off the Titanic, into the gold. Thank you. Please enjoy. If you have questions, www.teaserking.com. Please ask your questions. Send me an email, and I will be happy to ask your questions. Otherwise, I'll be on tomorrow. And if you don't understand, I ask the questions. But most people should understand this because this is what I teach. So have a great day. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.